Welcome to Ohio Roots, the official podcast of the Ohio Genealogical Society. Join us as we embark on a captivating journey through Ohio's rich genealogy, history, and abundant resources. Hosted by me, OGS Executive Director Noel Poirier, this podcast brings you insightful conversations with a diverse array of guests, from OGS members, chapter leaders, and staff to renowned genealogists, historians, and influential figures within the genealogical community. Each episode delves into fascinating topics and captivating stories. So grab your headphones, hit that play button, and join us on this enthralling journey of Ohio's roots. On this episode of the OGS Ohio Roots podcast, we have two guests from the Hagley Museum and Library in Wilmington, Delaware. Hagley has one of the largest collections of online films, scripts, and recordings related to Ohio in the world. Recently, Hagley dedicated its resources to digitizing and posting online the Ohio Story radio and TV episodes. The Ohio Story series reached its peak in the heyday of radio, the late 1940s. In Ohio, only one show in the nation had a higher rating, and that was The Jack Benny Show. So please join me today in welcoming Kevin Martin, Chief Curator of Library Collections, and Andrew W. Mellon, Curator of Audiovisual and Digital Collections, and Jim Cully, a film historian and Hagley volunteer working to preserve the films and records of Cinecraft Productions, a motion picture studio in Cleveland. Cinecraft was founded by Jim's mother and father, Betty and Ray Cully, in 1939. While studio ownership has changed 3 times since its founding, Cinecraft is still in business and rightfully claims itself the country's longest-standing corporate film and video production house. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Jim and Kevin. Well, I'd like to welcome Kevin Martin and Jim Cully of the Hagley Museum and Library. Thanks so much for being here this morning with me. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having us.
So, Kevin, the Hagley Museum and Library may be very new to our listeners because our listeners are from Ohio. I grew up in Eastern Pennsylvania, so I know all about it, but our listeners may not. So let's start off with just kind of an overview of what the Hagley's known for.
Sure. The Hagley Museum and Library is located in Wilmington, Delaware, along the banks of the Brandywine, which is in the northern part of Delaware. The property includes the site of the Gunpowder Works, founded by E.I. DuPont in 1802. Essentially, which is the beginning of the DuPont Company. A lot of people might recognize the name DuPont. Of course, better things for better living was their big tagline. They were a major producer of chemicals used in countless products and processes in the 20th century. The museum side of our operation here interprets the 19th century industrial work and life. On the property, we have restored mills, the workers' community, as well as the ancestral home and gardens of the DuPont family. The museum also has a large patent model collection. It's actually the largest patent model collection outside of the Smithsonian. And currently, our main exhibit is called Nation of Inventors, and it uses the patent models as the basis for that exhibit. And you can find out more about the museum at hagley.org, which is our website. The library side of our operation here, and that's where I work, it supports the mission of the museum, but it also does a lot more. The core mission of the library is broad, focuses on collecting publications and archives for the study of American business and technology, with a particular strength in the late 19th and 20th centuries. The collection includes individual papers from individuals, from companies, ranging from the 18th century merchants to modern telecommunication companies. And all the collections here illustrate the impact of business on American society. In addition to the massive collection of paper records and publications, we also have a large collection of motion pictures and AV material. Hagley owns at least 30,000 individual motion picture titles from hundreds of U.S.-based companies. And among that collection are copies of The Ohio Story, which is what we're going to talk about today. And those films came from the Cinecraft collection, and that's a collection that we acquired in 2019. Cinecraft is a Cleveland-based media productions company that was founded in 1938, and that collection contains at least 2,000 unique productions, over 1,000 production scripts, hundreds of photographs, transparencies, negatives. Also includes correspondence and lots of records related to the operations of the company. The Cinecraft collection is the largest motion picture collection that Hagley has ever acquired, and it's the largest intact archive from a single producer of sponsored films available in a research institution. So for the study of corporate film, the corporate film business in the 20th century, this really is the collection to study. And among their many clients was the Ohio Bell Telephone Company, and they produced the Ohio Story, and that's how that series ended up landing here at Hagley.
That's very cool. Jim, can you tell us a little more about Cinecraft and kind of the sponsored film genre?
Yeah. Cinecraft Productions was founded by my mom and dad. Dad was a Hollywood director for 10 years before he decided to get into industrial films. He actually was invited to make a film for General Electric. General Electric was based in Cleveland. He came back to Cleveland. They asked him to stay and make movies. And sponsored films, much bigger field than theatrical films, but they were made for a reason, paid for by somebody, generally shown free. They were shown in classrooms. They were shown sometimes as second features. They've won Academy Awards, but generally they're shorter. They had their own journal in their heyday. And by the way, Hagley has a complete set of that journal. It's called Business Screen, and it's a monthly, and it's really a phenomenal resource if you're interested in what companies were doing what in the sponsored film era. In the 30s, 40s, and 50s, it was really, really a big industry. And when Hagley came back with the films from Cinecraft, they brought back, I think, Kevin, did you say about 6,000 cans of film? Some of them, though, many of them were not made by Cinecraft. They were made by companies that Cinecraft acquired, or companies that some of the Cinecraft clients wanted them to store their films. So there's silent films. The earliest silent film that we found is Heart of Cleveland, which is in 1924. It's a wonderful film. It was required. It was played in every high school in Cleveland. It had the biggest attendance they ever had in the Civic Auditorium. It's a great film, and it's on YouTube. So you got silent films, and you've got many sponsored films in the Cinecraft collection.
That's really awesome. I love that Heart of Cleveland. I'll have to check that out. Kevin, can you please give us a few of your favorite Cinecraft movie titles that our listeners might like to watch? Particularly related to Ohio, maybe?
Yeah, well, I did put together kind of a best of site or page on our site, and that's hagley.org/Cinecraft-films. And there you'll find a long list of films, including links out to the Ohio Story radio and films that we're going to talk about today. But there's a film called The Romance of Iron and Steel that was produced in 1938 and sponsored by the American Rolling Mill Company, which was headquartered in Middletown, Ohio. And that's one of the earliest Cinecraft films that we have that was directed by Jim's dad. There's another film called Milestones of Motoring from 1954, sponsored by the Standard Oil Company of Ohio, that focuses on the contributions of Ohioans to the history of automobiles and actually stars Merv Griffin in one of his earliest appearances on film.
Singing.
Singing. It's considered an industrial musical because a lot of it is centered around, the story of history of automobiles, and a lot of those sort of anchored in different songs from different eras. There's another film called Invitation to Ohio that was sponsored by Ohio Bell, produced to attract businesses to the state. It includes hundreds of scenes throughout the state, a really interesting overview of the state of Ohio business during that period. And then maybe my most favorite film in the collection is a film called Freewheelin'. And this was a film done by the B.F. Goodrich Company from 1975 about the 4th annual Truck-In. And it was an annual event for enthusiasts of van culture. So it's an amazing film, shows off customized vehicles, vans, competitions and races and obstacle courses. If you're a fan of tricked out vans from the era, it's definitely something worth checking out. It's an awesome film.
Hi, everyone. Noel Poirier here, Executive Director of the Ohio Genealogical Society and your host for the Ohio Roots podcast. Did you know you can help preserve the past and empower the future? Your donation to the Ohio Genealogical Society helps protect vital family history records and supports research for generations to come. Visit www.ogs.org/donate and give today. Thank you so much for your support. Jim, the Ohio Story radio series is, also a significant item in the OGS collection. And several years ago, we digitized and posted online about 1,300 of the radio scripts. Tell us about Hagley's efforts to find the actual radio recordings.
Well, that is an interesting thing. When we started looking for recordings, we could find one. So out of 1,308 known episodes of the Ohio Story and the scripts, and by the way, you guys were the first ones to put a complete collection online. That was an amazing feat that you did that. Turns out there's sets of scripts in a number of places, like the Columbus Library has a complete set, the Western Reserve Historical Society, Cleveland Public Library. But you guys have yours online, which makes it very, very useful. But you don't get the real flavor of what these things were all about unless you can hear the actual recording. Now, the Ohio Story was done live, and it was done in the beginning 3 days a week. It was about 10 to 15 minutes long, and they had to rehearse it. They had to find actors. They had to get it approved by the Historical Society. It was just a huge feat. And so the fact that we now have found recordings and if you have any members that know where some recordings are, let us know. We'd love to digitize them and put them online so other people can have access to them. But so far, we've probably found over 100. We probably have online right now about 50 or 60. Mm-hmm. And if you want to find them online, I put 15 of them on a Wikipedia entry called The Ohio Story. And there's all 175 TV episodes are listed there and 15 of the radio scripts. The one episode that you might play today, the first episode of the Ohio Story, is not there yet because it's not yet officially online. So, by the way, Ohio Bell did this amazing series over a long period of time, but other companies did it as well. So Ohio did theirs Let's Explore Ohio series. That's a wonderful series to look at. And there's great films called, for example, Ohio at Play, Industrial Ohio, just wonderful films for people who like Ohio and want to see how we portrayed ourselves over time. Other companies, Illuminating Company, many companies, but I'm thinking in particular Standard Oil and Ohio Bell did a great job over a long period of time producing movies about Ohio.
Do you have any episodes of Ohio Story that kind of stand out to you?
Well, the Ohio Story recordings, and they are on the Wikipedia entry. The two that I like are Birth of the Majors, which is about the start of professional baseball. And the other one is called Hot Dog Stevens, about the very first hot dog, which people think is Nathan's Hot Dog in New York, but in fact, it's from Ohio. In fact, I'm from Ohio, you can tell. And every place I go, I find somebody from Ohio to talk to about all the people and movie stars. But by the way, movie stars of Ohio. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think you're aware of the big effort to promote films made in Ohio, yes. Actors from Ohio. But those are mostly theatrical films. They're not doing much with the sponsored film side. But on the sponsored film side, many of the Ohio movies that Cinecraft made had Hollywood actors in them. We talked about Merv Griffin, but I'm thinking in the Ohio Story TV episode, Alan Alda was in one of the episodes. He played an Indian. So there's really neat episodes to watch where you can see famous people talking about Ohio.
Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about the effort to digitize the Ohio Story TV episodes?
Sure. So the Ohio Story, obviously, it was the radio series at first, and then it was the TV show starting in 1952. Is that right?
The TV?
Yeah. Starting in 1952. And the radio show was not produced by Cinecraft, but the script writer for the series, Frank Seidel, was really intertwined with Cinecraft. He did so much script writing for Cinecraft. So we did have, so what we've been doing is we've found, I think we had a few records that came from Frank Seidel's son, and then a lot of the radio shows we've just found in other places. Is it Columbus or the Ohio State?
An Ohio State Library had probably 50 or 60 episodes, but they wanted to digitize them, and it costs money. So we have only been able to do about half their collection so far.
Right. So there's that effort, and then the other part is the films. And with the films, because they were produced we have nearly a full run of the 175 episodes. We've done, as I checked this morning, we have 49 of those episodes have been digitized and are online at our digital archives. And we've recently submitted a grant to do the rest. So the plan is we're hoping by the end of the year to have all of the Ohio Story TV show available online for people to see. Be available online for free at our digital archives, digital.hagley.org.
Are there any particular TV episodes from that series that kind of jump out to you, Kevin?
There's one on the Cleveland Playhouse from 1955 that is really fascinating. It essentially shows a production from the beginning to end, all the people involved with it. And that one I especially like. There's another one called Lifeline to the Islands, which is about a pilot and some of his cohorts who flew regular routes to the Lake Erie Islands to bring food and groceries and passengers back and forth from the mainland. There's another one called Biggest Little Ships in the World. That's the story of tugboats from the Great Lakes Towing Company, and has great scenes of them guiding these huge cargo ships up and down the Cuyahoga River. So that's a really great one too. And, we only have 49 of the 175 digitized so far. And we're really looking forward to having them all online, because it really is it's a great example of TV from the era, especially educational TV from the era.
If our listeners are wanting to learn more about your projects and what you're working on at the Hagley, how would they do that? And if they had resources for you, as Jim mentioned, some scripts or whatever, how would they reach out to you?
They can reach out directly to me. My name is Kevin Martin, and the email address is kmartin, KMARTIN, @hagley.org. And if you're interested in looking more into the Cinecraft collection, I'd encourage you to go to hagley.org/cinecraft-films. And that will take you to a number of links that can link out to different articles we've written about the collection, and also links out to some of the best of the Cinecraft collection.
Well, that's great. We're going to give our listeners a chance to listen to a little bit of one of the Ohio Story series when we're all finished. But I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me and talk with me today about the Ohio Story Project and everything you're doing there. It sounds really exciting, and I think our listeners are really going to enjoy digging into it.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks again, guys. As we come to the end of today's podcast, I asked Kevin and Jim to play for us the first few minutes of episode 1 of the Ohio Story series, Knowest Thou the Land? This episode was broadcast live at 6:30 p.m. on January 6, 1947, over a network of Ohio radio stations. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today, and I hope you enjoy this little excerpt. Thanks for listening to the OGS Ohio Roots podcast.
Ohio Bell, the telephone company, presents the Ohio Story. The Ohio countryside is a broad, majestic thing. It's clean and fresh and throbbing with the breath of life. You get to love the Ohio countryside if you walk in its hills or work in its soil or swim in its streams or grow up in one of its towns. The Ohio countryside is the home of free men, and if you listen from the hilltops, you can hear its freedom ringing. You can hear it in the whistles of the long ships passing the light at Marblehead, the steamboat rounding the bend of the river, the change of shift at sea. You can hear it in the bells of the cathedral at Toledo, the temple at Kirkland, the chapel at Oxford, the shrine at Niles. You can hear it in the sounds at sunset, the tractor freed from the plow at Findlay, the jet-propelled takeoff from a field in Dayton, the cattle at the barnyard gate at Strasburg, the Ohio State Limited pulling out of Cincinnati. You can hear it in the silence, over the battlefield of fallen timbers, beside the grave of Isaac Zane, in the harbor at Put in Bay. Yes, the Ohio countryside is a broad, majestic thing, and to know it is to love it.
If you enjoy listening to the Ohio Roots podcast, we would really appreciate it if you could go to whatever platform it is that you listen and give us a good review. Reviews help us get more listeners and reach more people with Ohio Roots and what we're trying to do with the Ohio Genealogical Society. So please, leave us a nice review, and thanks for listening.
The Ohio Roots podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Genealogical Society, the premier gateway for discovering your Ohio family history. Hosted by OGS Executive Director Mill Poyer and edited by Luke Poyer. Theme song is Beautiful Ohio, recorded by Bob Stanley and his orchestra in 1944. To learn more about joining the Ohio Genealogical Society, visit www.ogs.org.